recording. Start streaming. Okay. So, we continue on in Project Hail Mary. We are now to chapter 17. And that's page 277 through 291. So, Ryland and Rocky are approaching planet Adrian. They are able to get a reading on Adrian's atmosphere. It is it's 91% CO2, 7% methane, 1% argon, and 1% trace gases.
I feel attacked.
Trace gas. Ryland thinks it is odd for there to be so much methane as it breaks down in about 10 years. Rocky hypothesizes that geologic events produce it. They discuss how they will take a sample, and it requires Ryland to fetch the sampler from outside of the ship. Rocky thinks humans are crazy. Ryland has a flashback of helping test the IVME kit in NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab. The IVME kit is new technology to help with sample collection on the mission. After the testing session, he heads over to Dr. Dubois and Dr. Shapiro to administer their astrophage lesson. Dubois matter-of-factly informs Ryland that he and Shapiro have entered into a sexual relationship, and a very active one at that. He tries to continue the lesson when Shapiro interrupts to schedule her next sex session with Dubois. Ryland also learns that by the books Dr. Dubois calls Dr. Shapiro during sex, and she kind of likes it. In the present, Ryland and Rocky arrive at planet Adrian. Rocky has a camera tool that allows him to sense/hear visual things. They discuss the visual wavelengths of humans. Rocky names green middle rough. Their sample collector has been running for about 21 hours, and Ryland dons his EVA suit to go retrieve it. When he starts assessing the sample, he notices there are the same amount of astrophage on the side of the sampler facing planet Adrian compared to the side facing away. They expected the side facing Adrian to have more due to astrophage reproduction. They find a ton of life in the sample and set out to identify any potential astrophage predators. Jesse, what is your question?
My question for this chapter is with the discovery of this new organism that is supposed to be the astrophage's prey. Do we think that this is the perfect solution that they've been searching for, or is there a potential that this could bring about more issues just like astrophage? Maybe different ones,
Go ahead.
I think it's a good question because I was asking myself, okay, great, you found a predator for astrophage. How's that going to help Earth? You going to send its DNA, sequence back? Like, how does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, they would have to make sure that it's not like dangerous in and of itself or more dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And also, some astrophage is still making it to the sun. Wouldn't that just slow it down?
Yeah.
Maybe hit an equilibrium point where the sun actually stops losing luminosity or whatever it is before 10%, but
I had a similar thought, Jesse, because I was just like, what point is this just, what's that book series? It's like something like if you give a moose a muffin or whatever, and then it leads to the next thing.
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah, mouse a cookie. There we go.
Moose a muffin.
What?
Yeah.
Moose a
Give an
muffin's
animal
just
a
fine.
biscuit.
If you give an animal some other thing, then just leads one thing to another.
He's gonna want this, and if you give him that, he's gonna want something else.
Exactly. So it's like you get the thing to eat the astrophage, and then you got to get the thing to eat that, and then it's so on and so forth. And where does it end? And just the additional complications of it's like astrophage don't infect people, but what if they come across something that can interact with human biology? Or anyway, I was wondering about that, as well as what's the potential downside of this, or what are they going to find out about this thing?
mm-hmm.
I'll be right
I'd be
back.
curious
Okay.
if they do try and synthesize not necessarily the actual like microorganism, because as you said, like that turns up a whole host of other issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious if they like try and synthesize it. You know?
Maybe they
Maybe
could.
like you mean like try to figure out how they eat the astrophage?
Like an enzyme or something.
That's what I'm
Oh.
thinking of. Yeah. Like you might not need the actual organism to be sent across on the fucking beetles. You could just be like, "Hey, here's the recipe to make an artificial one of these."
That'd be
Hmm.
about the only way it could work too, because well, they would just eat the astrophage and the beetles.
Yeah.
I guess we.
Yeah, because you would have to like set aside like, okay, we have to make sure that this astrophage is used for fuel and this astrophage to sustain our farm as it travels the fucking however many, it was like 20 months for the beetles to get back because they don't have to worry about humans being aboard.
My brain was just thinking that they were going to send, a sample of whatever in the beetle, but now that you guys are talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess the beetle was only supposed to be for data collection, in which case they would have to figure out exactly how, whatever organism is impacting the astrophage, and yeah, just hope that they can artificially synthesize that back on Earth or on arid, whatever place is trying to use this information.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is DNA, because they established that, right? The astrophage use DNA. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
They have mitochondria and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could sequence it and CRISPR it into some other organism and eat astrophage. I mean, I guess that's possible. I have a different question, totally unrelated. Who else was just really taken aback by Dubois' conversation and just
Oh my god.
the slightly autistic the personality?
That's very generous to say slightly.
I am impressed with the openness since these people are about to die, but I was still a little surprised because they're just not normally that frank, in any kind of media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Which,
don't
you
think
know
we
what?
needed to hear about the lack of
Condom.
protection.
Yeah,
Like, I was like, whoa.
it's quite pleasurable. All right. Well,
Okay, good for
anyway.
you, buddy. You know what though? Refreshing.
Yeah, good for them.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought that up, Geraint, because my question was also related to that. Did you guys have any theories on how Dubois and Shapiro's relationship could impact the plan? Like if them doing what they're doing leads to Ryland ultimately having to take, like, because like when I was reading this part, my brain was going nuts. I'm like, fuck, they're gonna fall in love and run away together, or she's somehow, she's gonna get pregnant because sometimes the birth control isn't 100%, and she's gonna get pregnant, and he's gonna just decide to stay with her, and Ryland's gonna feel bad for him. Like, did you guys have any of those thoughts or any other thoughts?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this was the whole reason why what's her name? The lady didn't want women on the group.
Yeah. Yep. Strat. Mm-hmm.
Like, don't make her.
Strat, yeah.
Yeah, Strat.
Come on, Strat, you could have hired all women. Why don't we do
Yeah,
some
why
good
not
on
all women?
misandry?
Come on, huh?
Why
What are
not
you
some
afraid that we're getting our
misandry ones?
periods and
It's destined to fail.
Oh God.
Wouldn't work.
Of course, then she would somehow manage to find 6 lesbians.
Yeah.
Yep.
True. Another try. Or maybe you know what? Maybe human biology and gender is fluid enough that you lock any people of any gender together for a long amount of time. Everybody starts looking kind of good. So maybe it doesn't matter.
And I mean, if you're an astronaut, you're taking care of yourself, so it's not like they've got any,
I guess the most important thing in that situation would be that somebody didn't get pregnant in space, because that would be unfortunate.
Oof.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a whole different set of issues.
Yeah. Does
Yeah,
anyone?
that baby would be all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, well, for as long as it would live, Lord Jesus.
Mhm.
Ugh. Okay, anyone else have any thoughts or comments or questions on chapter 17?
Yeah, I just got back. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay, let's go on to chapter 18, and Geraint has a summary for this one.
Yes. All right, chapter 18. So we start with a quick flashback on Earth, where crew candidates are together watching another part of the Hail Mary launch into space. And perhaps the most important character development yet, we learn that everyone assumes Ryland and Strat are banging, or as Dubois calls it, engaging in sexual congress. Back in the present, Ryland and Rocky are running into problems finding the astro predator. They figure out that it must be deeper in the atmosphere where the astrophages breed. The only problem is that the ship can't get any closer to the planet to collect a sample or it'll burn up. Ryland steeples his fingers together and develops an unorthodox solution. He will have Rocky make a 10-kilometer chain rope of xenonite and attach a sampler while he slows down the Hail Mary and continuously thrusts up at an angle. Rocky and Ryland then begin talking about Rocky's journey to Tau Ceti and that Rocky arrived much sooner than expected, leaving him with excess astrophage fuel. Ryland realizes Iridians are unaware of relativistic physics, including time dilation and spatial contraction. We then wrap up the chapter with Canadian Steve Hatch introducing the Beatles to Ryland and their role in the mission. These probes will autonomously use constellations to guide their way back to Earth and relay Ryland's discoveries. In another display of national stereotypes, Steve the Canadian is optimistic the world will be saved with their help. All right, Amarillo, what is your question?
I had two that for me. How surprised was everybody by hearing that the entire crew thought that Strat and Ryland were sleeping together? Like just
Not
coming
at
from his
all.
from his point of view, I was pretty surprised, but stepping back from it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, look at Dubois and fucking the other scientists.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, yeah, we're
Fair.
fucking now.
It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter if you so very obviously hate each other. If you spend more than 5 minutes together, someone's gonna assume that you're fucking.
Somebody's shipping that.
I think
That's just how people are.
Ryland, as far as characters and like gender and sexuality is presented, he presents pretty asexually, I'd say, and maybe Strat is so serious that she becomes asexual or something. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, I wonder if Strat's secretly in love with Ryland, or is it just Locken, that one scientist who he used to have beef with, but now she's like, you remember those scenes from the last reading where she just like looks away?
Tucks hair behind corner.
Yeah,
behind ear. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
and now he's not dying after all, and she's gonna be like 30 years older than him.
Damn.
Oh man.
May December romance, anybody?
And anybody else come up with their own solution to the problem that Rocky and Ryland had to face with getting 10 kilometers lower without dying to get that sample?
That's a good question. Honestly, I didn't even think.
Honestly, there's a reason I'm not an astronaut, because my solution would probably be just to die and doom humanity.
Oh God.
You know what? It was a good run.
Was it?
I mean, but I'm not a good problem solver in a stressful situation like that. But obviously, if I were chosen as an astronaut, that would be different, I guess. I don't know.
I feel like the chain sampler is just about the only way they could have done it, because it's the, atmosphere is going to compromise the ship if they try, if they try to just do a little drive by in there, and with the astrophage power, it's going to ignite the atmosphere. And I guess astrophage as an energy source is like really only ideal either in small amounts or in the vacuum of space where things don't just erupt into flames. But yeah, I don't know how else they would get down there. If I feel like when I was reading it, I thought for a moment about Rocky's planet's space elevator, but I don't know logistically, like, how much that would make sense. It seems like the chain thing was something they were able to pull off in a reasonable amount of time.
I was mainly worried. Okay, so they've discovered there is a predator to the astrophage, but most of the ship's protection from the elements of space and its fuel are the food of this predator. I was worried, what if that got into the ship and started dismantling
Oh
any hope
god.
Oh,
of
yeah.
getting back?
Oh god.
Mm-hmm.
How many chapters do we have left? There's still time.
There's still time.
That was my concern with him trying this. I was like, yeah, heat is one thing, but you get it, it gets loose. That's it. you have no way of getting home anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Did you have any ideas, Amarillo, about the collection?
Oh no, I'm right there with Marvelous and wanted, but not having any of my own. But I figured somebody might have something.
Garen, did you have something you came up with?
I mean, I did. I'm just thinking about it right now. But
Mm.
I wonder, if you're really trying to play the odds and they came up with this dangerous plan of continuously falling into the planet, wouldn't you go get the other ship and have one person on each ship in case your ship burns up just for safety? But
Yeah.
maybe Rocky's ship could withstand more of the environment and get a little closer.
Maybe they should have towed it
Maybe.
with them. instead of-
Maybe. I mean, he has all the knowledge of Earth on that computer. Maybe he could find a way to reprogram one of the beetles to just drop down, or Rocky could make a device that changes valve pressure to open and close a sampler. I mean, maybe they could do something like that with a propulsion system to shoot it back up. I mean, I don't know. I have no
or
idea.
okay, now I thought of one. So on the basis of like the propulsion firing something sort of thing, what if they just, were at like the right angle from the planet and they just shoot some projectile like through that section of atmosphere and it comes out on the other side and they have to go get it? You know what I mean? They could have done that, but I don't know if they have the tools, to launch something in that way. Although it seems that Rocky's been able to pretty much make, the majority of things they've needed on the fly. So maybe he could have made something like that. I don't know.
I do hope they're able to recycle all of that xenonite because I believe it takes up like the vast majority of what that guy has left.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think that's in
No.
the next part.
So I have a question. And I kind of mentioned it snarkily in my summary, but do you feel like Andy Weir, I mean, in like a humorous tone, at least I think so, is kind of giving all these nations and characters stereotypes, like this optimistic, friendly Canadian, the Russians who have this pessimistic humor.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah.
just curious, but
A
I
little
see
like,
bit,
it.
yeah.
But he does it in like a respectful way.
Yeah.
It's not like insulting stereotypes. They're just kind
Yeah.
of like generalizations of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, you know, different cultures can have stereotypes without it being like a damning thing.
Yeah. They're kind of endearing.
Mm-hmm,
He does it
mm-hmm.
in an endearing way. Like
Yeah.
Dimitri is very like, yes, very good. That type of mentality. And
Kind of.
w-
so
w- what did you guys think of Iridians not knowing relativistic physics?
they didn't know radiation.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
it made sense.
remember like humanity's own like path on that, but I just don't know enough about the history of those discoveries. Like, did we find out about that shit before or after we went into space? I don't remember. Because I guess in a way it makes sense because they went from basically no space flight slash I think they had built the elevator to all of this fairly quickly, but
You were gonna say something, Jesse?
Oh, I was gonna say it makes sense with how a lot of their scientific knowledge was discovered more out of a need than like a curiosity or discovery.
Hmm.
Mm,
So it makes sense that they would skip a lot of stuff or have some blind spots.
yeah.
I guess we have blind spots too. Like, we don't know
Mhm.
anything about this like magical use of xenonite. It seems extremely powerful and fairly easy to make, when you've got the components. Like, Rocky's been able to do a bunch of stuff on the fly with it.
Yeah.
and I guess you really don't need to know about it to get anywhere. Like like you can like the
Like the
like
planning part of it.
yeah. I
So
mean, I guess if humans didn't know about it, then they would have just packed 12 years of supplies instead of
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
3, but
yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's maybe not that surprising, but on the other hand, it's like you ask yourself like, what do these Iridians have? Like GPS to me is like the most famous example of relativity to correct for time changing on a GPS.
Hmm.
And like, dude, Iridians not even have GPS or like stuff to get around their planet or I don't know.
Seems like they're very sedentary. No pun intended about them being rocks.
Sedimentary.
Sedimentary. Um, I just think they're not a race that really ventures too far from anything. They did this time because they had to, but seems like there was no prior like long range travel methods that they had besides that elevator.
Yeah.
This is interesting, I guess, while we're on the topic of relativity stuff. Uh, if that impacts anything like on Earth for our daily lives, it says the faster you travel, the slower time will pass for you. The effect is small. Take a transatlantic flight from London to New York, and your watch will be a 10 millionth of a second behind the one you left on the ground. But nonetheless, you'll have aged a fraction more slowly than if you stayed at home. That's cool.
Hmm.
Very
so
interesting.
wear sunscreen and live in a plane your whole life.
Yes, the secret.
Doctors hate her.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions on chapter 18?
Hmm,
Okay.
I don't believe so.
All right, moving on to chapter 19, page 308 through 325. So Ryland explains relativity to Rocky, and it takes a while for him to accept that time was passing differently on his journey. They continue making chain links and assemble them all together. They attach the probe and realize they're ready to begin their mission. Ryland manually positions the ship, and they begin getting temperature warnings as the heat from the spin drives interacts with the atmosphere. They think the astrophage will absorb the extra heat and drop the probe. It successfully collects the sample, and Ryland prepares to exit the ship to retrieve it. Rocky says, "Be careful, you are friend now." Ryland exits the ship and begins winching up the chain. It takes a while, but finally the sample arrives. He carefully climbs back down into the airlock. Remember, Adrian's gravity is acting on him even in space. And he returns to the control room. The screens are going crazy, flashing with various warnings. Adrian's gravity is ripping the ship apart. The ship is reacting unpredictably, and they realize their fuel tanks have been breached, and the horny astrophage are dragging the ship towards Adrian. The gravity is getting very high. Rylan jettisons one of the fuel bays, but they're still falling towards Adrian. Damn it, Adrian! The gravity is almost impossible. Rylan can't speak, but manages to jettison a second fuel bay. This fixes the horny astrophage issue, but sends the ship into a spin, worsening the gravity. He is just thinking of a plan when his seat becomes unfastened and slams him into the control panel. He can't breathe from the pressure, and suddenly his eyes sting. Rocky has exited his life support zone and lifts the metal chair off Ryland. Rocky's radiator slits are combusting, and he collapses to the floor. He says, "Save Earth. Save Arid." Ryland reaches out to Rocky without thinking and scalds his hands. He says, "Rocky, no." Get right to your question.
So 2 questions, and one is more of just a yes/no. But did anyone else get death flags when they read that line? "Be careful," says Rocky. "You're a friend now." "Thanks,
Oh.
you're a friend also." I was like, "Oh fuck."
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
definitely.
Anyone else? Just raise your claw.
God.
Indeed.
I think
Uh,
Andy Weir tends to be an optimistic writer. I don't think he'd really kill anybody off, except for maybe. I'm just eating my words there,
Oh, God.
I guess. Well, no, I did predict a heroic sacrifice. I guess that counts, but I thought it would be Ryland and not Rocky.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm glad Toaster made us read the next chapter, but
Mhm.
my other question is kind of given the extent of what damage is appearing to happen to the ship. We find out more of the damage in the next chapter, but they just mentioned the beetles in this preceding chapter. Now there's this significant damage to the ship.
Oh.
This is more of like a thinking what might happen question, but do you guys think they find? Do you think that? Do you think? I guess. Do you think Ryland's ship is totaled? And if so, what do you think? Where the story is going to go?
I don't think it's totaled.
Definitely compromised.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna pull up back on Earth in Rocky's ship. Hey yo, check out my new ride.
Oh, God.
Get that Xenonite pearlescence, you know what I'm saying?
Gonna get shut out of the atmosphere.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Don't try to land in
Or even
America.
makes-
We're all
down.
dying. We don't need an alien invasion now.
On top of it, fuck off.
Yeah, I guess for me, just with the, I don't know if it's foreshadowing or not, literally preceding this chapter with the beetle stuff and then having all this damage done and Rocky possibly dying, you don't know right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
if
was
it's like,
definitely grim.
Yeah.
yeah, if it's just like, hey, maybe my thought at this point was, you know, maybe they both die at some point, or maybe the only way they save their planets is Ryland sends beetles to both their planets, but.
Yeah.
I guess Rocky's planet doesn't have computer stuff, so they wouldn't even know, like, how to
Mhm.
analyze what's on the beetles. Hello, Tina.
Hello, sorry,
Hello.
I woke up late.
Oh, no worries. Um, but yeah, I think, they talked earlier about all the redundancy with the engines and stuff. So I figured hopefully there would be enough there. Maybe not be able to travel as fast, but that the ship would still be able to work. But yeah, I guess they could always use Rocky's ship, and Rocky could just build like a little human zone in there for him. Although I don't know what he would eat. I guess he would have to have the robot.
2 years.
Yeah, the robot arm. He'd just have to ask it to give him like all the food that it had, if it
Mhm.
would.
Yeah. I mean, right now my only complaint is all the body shaming of Adrian. I mean, I think me having my own gravitational pull, that shouldn't be, a negative thing. That's a lot of pressure on me to maintain appearances. I'm just, you know, and maybe I'm shouting in the void here, just voicing my opinions here.
Ryland did describe Adrian as gorgeous, so I think you got
Damn.
that going for you.
That is true. I forgot that
Yeah.
line.
Green
He
from
said
all
you
the
could stare at
methane.
it for hours, so
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I did shave today, so
Oh.
that was very nice of him to say that.
In I guess like the climax of this chapter, was anybody else like reading this and just like gasping and horn like no, or like anything
God damn
like
it,
that?
Rocky!
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like, thank God she didn't cut it off here because that would have been really mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I
I
love
felt like
Rocky, so.
I felt like just as much as it was like death flagging, it was like, oh, this is the opportunity to display how much they've come to care about each other. You know,
Yeah.
in one of those moments.
And this isn't a question, more so just a comment. I thought the ruptured fuel tank showing the horny astrophage, the planet, was a smart use of of the science they've built in this story. I did like that.
Yeah. Giving it a show to see how it reacts.
Mm-hmm. Yep, those astrophage were like, "Whoa, mama!"
Boing.
Oh my god.
Awooga.
All right. Any
I
other?
guess,
Uh-huh.
yeah, just one. I'm just reading this last page again. I'm just trying. Physically, how did Rocky save the ship? Like, he can't see screens. He just says he
He
destroyed the
saved Ryland.
LCD unit.
So Ryland was pinned under this metal chair and couldn't breathe. He was like pinned to the control console. And
So,
yeah,
oh, okay, so he wasn't
Rocky.
able to slow the ship down or anything. He just
Correct.
unpinned him.
He went out there just long enough to snip basically the seatbelt off the metal chair and then remove the metal chair from him. And then that's when like Ryland was able to do what he did next.
Okay, because the way I was interpreting this is he just like smashed the LCD monitor.
Oh god.
So I hope that would work. But
Caveman
Yeah,
style.
I think the jettisoning of the fuel is what fixed the spinning. It was just saving his life because he was being crushed by the seat.
In the yeah, because the ship basically became a centrifuge, so the gravity was even higher once it was spinning like that, like than it was even from just the planet. But then once he was able to, I can't remember if it's in this chapter or at the beginning of the next, but then he was able to elongate the centrifuge, structure of the ship, which like made the effects less extreme. Any other thoughts, comments on chapter 19? All right. And Geraint is going to do chapter 20 as well.
whoa. All right, chapter 20. Ryland takes manual control of the centrifuge spools and extends the ship to slow down its rotation. With gravity now reduced to 0.5 g, he's able to loop nylon straps around Rocky and carry his 200-pound body like a backpack back through the disheveled and now upside-down spaceship. To get Rocky back to a safe environment, Ryland pulls an airlock release lever, which releases blazing hot ammonia, scalding his eyes, lungs, and skin before closing another airlock behind him. The computer then emergently intubates and sedates him to save his life. Ryland wakes up 6 hours later, extubated. Miraculously, he has survived. He turns his attention to Rocky and realizes the oxygen from his ship turned Rocky into a tinderbox, burning his organs. Ryland decides to fix the ship's orientation and secure the astrophage so Rocky's sacrifice won't be in vain. Over the course of a day, he sets up an experiment to feed astrophage to the Adrian air while monitored with a camera. He also jerry-rigs a compression gun to shoot air at Rocky to try and clear away what he presumes is soot from his vents. While not logical, he feels like he has to do something rather than nothing to try and help Rocky out. Finally, having cleared a cathartic amount of soot from him, and with a hefty amount of painkillers in his system, he goes to bed. All right, Marlon, let's hear it.
My question's like less about the chapter and more kind of about the whole section we read. And approaching like this new planet. Did anybody else ever consider like, man, what if there's intelligent life on this planet similar to Rocky, and they're like, who the fuck's trying to attack our planet, and why don't we do something to stop them? Like,
I wondered
couldn't they
that.
be met with a
A
whole
little bit,
nother,
yeah.
resistance at some point?
Yeah,
True.
I was a little worried something like that might happen, but I was just like, what are the odds? And just hope that, it's like, yeah, we're doing it. We're figuring it out. We're getting the sample, and they just get randomly nuked. Like, okay, well,
Yeah. I
Right?
I feel like with all of the monitoring that they've done of Adrian in the past, it took them like a week and some change to get there. And they were monitoring the atmosphere and everything about the planet. I feel like if there was intelligent life on it, they at least enough to actually like mount an assault like that, then they would probably pick up things like radio waves and other like decidedly artificial like things emitting from the planet. But yeah.
I had a question. Um, so like during this chapter, we're trying to figure out like what's gonna happen to Rocky, or even if he is dead at this point. Like, was anybody just like brainstorming about like how this could possibly go? Like I was thinking like what if Rylan just thinks Rocky's dead, and he's just there, in the ship for a while, and then he like heals and randomly comes back to life at the end of the book. I was like, what? Because I like, at this point we didn't know, is he dead? Is he alive? Like, what's going on? What's even the life cycle? What if their
Yeah.
life cycle is that when they die they like lay an egg or something, and then there's gonna be another
Yeah.
hatch. It's gonna hatch or something. I don't know. I was thinking all kinds of crazy ideas.
I feel like a dark turn of events would have been something like that happening, but Rylan having no other way out and looking for the pistol that Yao had.
Damn.
Because they've mentioned that, and it's quite literally a Chekhov's gun at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think of
So
that.
I
Good
am
point.
curious as to when that may come into play.
Maybe they meet other aliens that are
Real
really
shit. What
Yeah.
is he gonna trade the heroin for? This
Oh, they
random
got
alien that he
heroin
finds.
too. That's right.
And lots of nitrogen.
Oh, and the nitrogen too. Yeah, because Dubois wanted to die that way.
I know they went over that in the next chapter, but I thought the heroin thing was so fucking funny.
So you're gonna have a party.
What do you guys think of Rylan getting extubated within 6 hours? Pretty unrealistic, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
super.
Maybe he didn't breathe it in that much. I was thinking about that as well.
Was he
Maybe it was
coughing up blood or something?
well, maybe he was mostly holding his breath, and it's just like the high pressure of it shoved some of it in, but he, tried to hold his
Yeah.
breath or something.
Yeah, because I feel like intubation's a pretty rough process. No,
Yeah.
he just seemed
Uh,
like fine.
it's like if you chemical burns in your lungs. Definitely would not be 6 hours of extubation, like with expert. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
On a real note, I did have a thought where Ryland had this urge to, he has to do something to help Rocky out. He's like, hey, maybe this is emotional, but I feel like I gotta try something. Worst I can do, he's already dead. And I love that Andy Weir turned that on its head and said, "You dumbass, you should have done nothing. Like you knew nothing about him. What you did could have killed him. You ripped his scab off. Thankfully enough time to heal on his own. But just that human notion of you have to do something
Mm-hmm.
instead of
Yeah.
just waiting or observing or doing nothing. Sometimes nothing is the right answer, and that happens in like the hospital all the time, where people expect something to happen. You almost do things for placebo to appease family members.
Yep.
It's like, hey, just do careful observation. That's what we call it,
Mm-hmm.
careful observation.
That's pretty
So I really
interesting.
enjoyed that part of this chapter. But
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, but he did say it helped, didn't he, Rocky?
No,
I
well,
think he was being kind.
Okay.
Because didn't he say that if he did it a moment earlier, it would have killed him?
yeah.
Yeah, and then he said it helped. So yeah, I guess he was just kind of like, yeah, but it's okay. You did a good job. Good job.
Yeah, it's okay. If you did earlier, I die, but I heal enough before you do it. Removing help a little, thank.
Yeah, moving help a little. Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
comforting him.
Patting him on the
Yeah.
back. Yeah, it's all
Help.
right, buddy. Yeah.
Like how you scrape off your scabs too early, even though you know you shouldn't.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just taste so good, you know.
Oh.
Ugh.
Oh God.
Yeah, I like that Rocky's like learned how to use sarcasm and stuff, and like, yeah, that's a great idea. Type of shit he was telling him.
Oh yeah, when he was like, yes, adjust the orbit while stupid. Good.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's next chapter, but yes.
Yeah. He's been sarcastic a couple points before that.
All right. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on chapter 20? Okay. The last chapter of this reading, chapter 21, page 342 through 362. We start with a flashback of Ryland interviewing the crew on how they'd like to die in space. Dubois opts for nitrogen mediated asphyxiation. Ilukina opts for heroin OD, and Yao would like a gun. In the present, Ryland awakes to the tapping of Iraqi. He is hurt, but alive, similar to Ryland. Ryland finds out his attempt to clear soot from Rocky's radiator actually almost killed him. Whoops. Rocky finds out Ryland has been storing the sample at pretty much room temperature and asks him, why stupid? Question. Ryland explains the effect of sleepiness and pain meds on human brains, and Rocky insists Ryland sleeps before any other activities. Ryland sleeps and Rocky makes a mini airlock for extracting the sample. When Ryland wakes up, they discuss how humans and Iridians evolved to think at the same speed. They conclude it's some combination of gravity and predators. Rocky says both of them were willing to die for each other and are good people to defy evolution, since evolution hates death. Ryland flashes back to the night a massive explosion obliterated a research building. Both Shapiro and Dubois were in the building when it happened. They lost the scientist and the backup scientist. Strat urgently tells Ryland to locate the backup candidate list. In the present, Ryland is extracting a sample from their collector and places it on a slide. He sees lots of life, and then a miracle. He sees an amoeba-like organism consume and kill astrophage. They name it Talmoeba. They isolate some, feed them astrophage, and they breed like crazy. They do experiments and confirm that Talmoebas are hardy and can live in the atmosphere of both Venus and Arid. Finally, things are going well, and then the lights go out. Andy, what is your question?
So I have a couple questions for this chapter. Um, First of all, I'm glad that Rocky was okay. As I'm sure most of you were. Then, um, what did you guys think about like how everybody's talking about how they want to die, like how they would want to, if things don't work out? And actually, I'll just do that one and then I'll ask my second question after.
I think they were, I guess, a mixture of brave and just they flat out had already accepted their fate. And I mean, they were picking ways to go that they were comfortable with. I mean, really, when it comes to death, you can't really ask much more than that. I was a little skeptical of Yao's gun one. I don't know. I feel like the
Yeah,
drugs or the nitrogen made a little more sense. The gun one made me nervous. Like, what if he misses or something? Or I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a
yeah,
messy. That'd be a messy kind of way to go
Yeah.
in
agreed.
space because
I think he
you
was
got
planning to be the
everything
last,
exploding. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Because he said he would extra murder the other ones if their plans
right?
didn't work quite right.
Ugh.
Yeah, I heard someone say
Yeah.
earlier, they're like, "Oh, the heroine was really funny." I was like, "Wow!" Like when I read that, I was like, "Jesus, what the hell?" But I guess interesting.
Like when you read her explanation, like sure, why not?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like,
First few highs are the best.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
yeah. Um, then my second question was, so we talked about it earlier. Um, seeing whether the relationship between Dubois and Shapiro would have any, you know, negative consequences. And this is one of them where they
Mhm.
literally are both in the same spot, even though they're not supposed to be. They know they're not supposed to be. Um, besides, like, I guess when Ryland and some of the others, they're having meetings or teaching them. And do you guys think it was an accident?
Damn. Andy Weir got me with that one. I'll say it. I the setup with them having sex and stuff, I was sure it was going to be some lovey-dovey pregnancy something. And nope, just, because they'd been hinting at how
So it could be.
dangerous. I guess that's true. But they hinted previously that this is really dangerous work and just nothing bad had managed to happen so far. But this was like the really bad thing. I mean, I guess it could have been like a planned double suicide sort of thing, but I would be really surprised. The presentation of their characters so far seem just very, very matter of fact, but maybe there was some breaking point, or I feel like there was mention that like when Ryland was talking about the situation or observing the situation, he was like, "Why would they be there? Why would they be doing this?" Like it was kind of suspicious. Maybe
And he
Dubois
also said,
had a nervous break or something.
yeah, he said that the amount of astrophage that they were working with wouldn't have been enough to cause any type of explosion of that magnitude as well, like anything like that to happen.
Yeah.
It
So,
could
I
be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I give it a 50-50 chance that they were either doing dumb experiments that they shouldn't have been doing, or it was sabotage, but they were just happened to be having sex during the,
Oh God.
unfortunate timing.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's been very little retaliation between, from the world to all the stuff they're doing. So I think there's the potential for it to have been sabotage, but I feel like it would have required somebody who knows how astrophage works.
Mm-hmm.
So, like an inside job.
Mhm.
I don't know about the murder suicide type of like, you know, go out in a blaze of glory thing because they did kill 14 other people. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they were capable of that, you know, but I just feel like it's hard to know unless they discover some evidence, which doesn't seem like there is any evidence. So,
Yep. Them thinking that it might have been like a terrorist attack or something. So
yeah,
definitely.
something like that.
Um, and my last question. Now, Ryland's eyes will not be able to work, and now we'll see Rocky, um, you know, be able to help Ryland here. I guess when the lights go out. What do you
Dude,
guys think is gonna happen?
it's gonna be like
I rem-
oh, go ahead.
I'm just making stupid jokes.
Me
I
too.
remember being really grateful earlier on where I'm like, wow, I'm glad she didn't cut us off at this chapter. And then I got to the last line of this chapter. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super like cliffhanger for sure.
My stupid joke was that it was gonna be like a training montage of Daredevil or something, where he's gonna develop some echolocation or something. I don't know.
I mean, Rocky could make him a device that helps him see how he sees. Kind of like I guess echolocation would be the closest thing, or like sonar.
God.
Because Rocky can still see and work.
Now I'm just imagining Rylan walking around clicking. uh,
Has his own hamster ball.
yeah, it's
I feel like Rocky's gonna be like just telling Ryland everything he's doing, like where to go and what to do.
yeah.
Because like before now, Rocky's been like, oh, human eyes, they're so like so helpful, I mean, obviously he still can do stuff too, but it's like now that there's no light, Ryland, I feel like is gonna struggle a lot. So
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I feel like they have to get the light back on to operate the electronics, right? Because otherwise, I mean, it's not, even if whether or not Rocky can see, Rocky can't operate that stuff. So they have to figure out the light situation somehow, so the electronics work. Well, electronics, life support systems,
yeah,
all these things. I guess it depends on when they say the lights went out. Was it just the lights, or was it electronics, like on the whole ship? I get, because those are different things.
which I guess we will find out.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine Rocky. Thank goodness that Rylan can understand Rocky without a computer now, but Rocky can guide him, to at least the Eva suit. I'm sure that has a flashlight on it. So
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll also say it's a little bit of a stretch that there's no backup lighting. I mean, like everything has lights when power goes out. I'm sure a spacecraft would. I don't
It's very damaged.
know.
He
Yeah.
probably just doesn't remember where it is.
Honestly, the power going out kind of reinforced my theory about the Predator doing something to the ship,
Oh,
the Predator
fuck.
of the Astrophage.
Oh, God.
And
He
maybe
has
it
to
is.
he has to shoot the Predator with a gun.
Oh.
It's gonna grow
Oh.
exponential in size like a Resident Evil boss. And
God.
he's gonna have to shoot it.
It's evolving.
It'll have one glowing red spot where he has to shoot.
Yeah, one big eyeball. Then again, there was also the leak he found. The space leak
Oh
he
yeah,
had
that
in
was
the ship.
spooky. I did not
He
like
put
that.
some epoxy on it.
Yeah, but what if one of the predators got into the hull of the ship where it's lined with astrophage?
Oh
No
God.
God.
Oh my God. Yeah, there could totally, because they were in that zone, right? Where like they were able to harvest stuff, so there could be weird bugs or whatever, space bacteria in that room doing space what if they eat copper and they're just eating the copper wires all over the ship? Oh
Yeah.
God.
Ooh, destroying the ship just from inside out and
Yeah.
him not even realizing.
Yep,
Oh
there's
my
still
gosh.
there's still a few chapters left for it to turn into a horror.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
But
Gonna turn into prey.
Did
and then the xenomorph came out of Rocky. Rocky has been an egg the whole time.
Oh Jesus. Was anyone feeling a little bit like at the end of this last chapter, like Andy Weir was starting to troll a little bit, like everything was going mostly smoothly, with everything really, and then just tons of stuff and scary stuff was just like happening back to back to back. Now that he's got us hook, line, and sinker caring about Ryland and Rocky, and it's like just lots of spooky bad things happening. I mean, they both got wounds. Like, what if the weird space bacteria infect their wounds or something? Or I don't know. I Like,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Marvelous was saying that, like Andy Weir's a little more on the optimistic side of things, but now I'm
Mhm.
scared. I'm scared there's gonna be trolling and like there might only be one survivor or something, and because we don't
Yeah.
necessarily need both of the characters to accomplish the end goal. So I'm like, fuck, which one's gonna get the weird crazy infection, or what's gonna happen, or is the whole gonna
Yeah.
implode, or maybe the beetles are just recording everything that's been going in the ship, and if the hole's gonna implode and they're both gonna die, but the beetles are still gonna like shoot off as like an emergency mechanism
Mm.
or something, that at least they get whatever information happened to
Yeah.
be recorded up until that point. I don't know. He keeps fucking with them, and I'm scared. I don't trust it. They gotta live.
I mean, we've all read books before. You get to a certain percentage on your Kindle or a certain thickness of the book, and you're just like, okay, this is going too well.
Oh
Mhm.
god.
When is he gonna drop the ball?
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
happen eventually.
If you've ever seen that graph of like the way a story goes and it starts arcing up at conflict up to the climax, I think we're in that conflict arc
It's
of the
enough.
story.
It's enough.
Turn
It's
back, turn
enough
back.
like this.
Keep going up, keep going up.
And then we're gonna hit that climax pretty soon, and then resolution down from there.
I thought we already hit it, and then the lights went
I
out.
wanted it, yeah.
I thought we were.
Still part of the conflict.
Oh god.
Multifaceted conflict.
So since we're at the end of this week's reading, we only have next week we finish the book. I guess I'm curious what everyone's fan theories are for how things play out. Primarily, like, do you think they both return home? Do you think they both go to either Arid or Earth? Do you feel like there's a sad ending? I'm just curious which way you guys think is gonna turn out.
I
I don't
want
know. It could go really any way at this point, so it's hard to say.
them to send the Beatles and save their respective planets, and then stay in space together forever, being research scientists and having fun and doing
And
research.
babies.
Maybe.
Mm.
I want them to
mean,
stay together forever.
well, have
Like
you heard of this wonderful website?
Oh my god.
Oh god. What were you saying, Jesse?
I said like a buddy cop sitcom, but with like research scientists.
Oh my
Yes.
god, yes.
And they can just intermittently send research updates to their planets to better their planets, but they get to stay together forever in space, singing their little songs and admiring humans being able to see.
Great, Rocky, space cops.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
Mhm.
That's my preferred ending. I want imagining that at some point they're going to go their separate ways is devastating to me.
That makes
I can't handle it.
Yeah.
That is
I-
any ending that does not include them staying together and like whether it's at he goes Rocky goes to Earth with Ryland, or Ryland goes visits Iridian, or they buddy cop it up and scientist their way across the galaxy.
Yes.
If they're not together, I don't want it.
Yes.
I personally think we're gonna get an Iron Giant-esque ending where they're gonna solve the problem. It's gonna seem like Rocky had to go home and he had to go home, and then all of a sudden he's gonna get like a radio transmission one day, and the Iridians are gonna come visit Earth.
Oh.
Ooh.
It's gonna be one of those,
That might be okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
and then they live in
I just want
harmony.
them to visit
So-
each other.
I guess a different question then. I mean, I guess Ryland could still send the Beatles, but they'd get there just a little faster, I guess.
Yeah, because they're smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they could speed up quicker. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out. I almost feel like he's misleading us with the Beatles at this point because he has mentioned them so many times, and he's like making us think that's how he's going to
The
communicate
answer.
with Earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like he's setting up to where Ryland sends that to Earth, and he has to go to Arid. I just feel like that's
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they
was
do it
something that I
together.
That was something I was thinking about, or he ends up like splitting the Beatles and just hoping for the best.
I bet you anything the movie is gonna have like a whole soundtrack of Beatles songs,
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
or at
there's
least
yeah,
at that point.
100%.
Or at least Beatles sound-alike songs.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Inspired by.
Oh God. I just had a thought. Oh God. Okay. So in this last reading, Rocky just discovered relativity, right?
Mhm.
So that means he probably doesn't have 70 years left to go back to his planet?
Oh.
How long does he actually have?
Let's see. So I think he
Or does he have
said
more? Is it better? Is
I
How does
think-
it
I
work?
think-
Time dilation.
No.
What is that?
Time. So
So
he
I-
experienced less time than what his
Arid.
planet, Arid,
Okay.
experienced.
So he has more time. So he's good.
However,
No,
Oh.
he has less time.
he
not
because
that
he experienced less time. He has less time.
So
However,
Rocky-
go ahead.
No, you finish first.
I was gonna say if I remember correctly, it's mentioned like once or twice in one of the chapters that it's relative Arid is relatively the same distance away that Earth is from Adrian. So I think he has about the same rough quarter century that Earth
Well,
has.
Adrian, is that true? No.
I'm trying to
Actually,
I'm trying to figure out the math on this because Rocky
Yeah.
said it took him 3 years, right? And the planet had about 75, but then he also said he's been hanging out for about 50.
I think Geraint has something to say on it. What say you,
Yeah,
Geraint?
So the difference in time, the time that he was, at Tau Ceti doesn't matter because these are accounting for that. That's non-relativistic time. It's
Mhm.
just the time that he traveled. And if it was 3 years versus a 10-year light years between Arid and Tau Ceti, so that's 7 years both ways. So that's just 14-year difference out of the 70 that he expected he had. So he
Okay.
should still have plenty of time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think his 70 number was counting the time that he had already spent there. So he's got maybe a decade less than he thinks he does, but I think he still
Yeah.
has plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I guess. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I have a different question, but I don't know if you're still talking.
I have a different question as well.
Oh, my question is, again, thinking about the end of the book. They haven't said why Strat picked Ryland or waited to pick him or whatever, and I'm just wondering if Andy Weir will have like some type of bittersweet or sweet ending, where the last part of the book is from Strat's perspective, or like
Damn.
find out like her feelings, and either he doesn't come home and we figure that out and it's extra sad, or he is coming home and she gets surprised at the very end. She gets like a radio signal. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to
That would be so good.
think of cool endings. Yeah.
cuts to her perspective. She's been watching a video feed that was captured on the ship the whole time. That's how she knows the story. And then it's her perspective after.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It'd be sad, but also interesting. Interesting way to end it.
I'm kind of surprised they bothered with the pretense of, quick, find me the next most qualified astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, obviously we know that Ryland gets picked anyway, but I get, you know what, that's probably what chapter 22 is going to open with. I bet it's going to be, it's like, we don't have time to train another astronaut. Looks like it's
Yeah.
you, buddy.
Was it down to 9
Yeah.
days or something? Like when the explosion
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least we were right that like Dubois died. That's why he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all
Instead
like
of it being a
Died the way he lived.
Oh, well, we can only hope.
What was
At
your
least
question?
nobody has to find their bodies.
yeah.
My,
mid coitus. Sorry.
so my question, I guess somewhat relating to, Ryland ultimately being the one who's chosen. What do you think Ryland's preferred method of dying would be?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I think sexually asphyxiated by the robot on the ship.
Oh, God.
Oh my god.
Still shipping that. thinking
Oh my
seriously about it,
God.
I think Dubois got the right idea. Like,
Yeah,
like if I
Yeah.
have to pick a way,
the nitrogen. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
heroine's not bad, guys. I mean,
I
come
was
Yeah,
gonna
on.
say, I was
honestly.
Okay,
gonna
okay.
say, you know what?
Here,
If
I'll
you
do.
get to, yeah,
I'll try the heroin first, and then I'll do the and then I'll do the asphyxiation, so I don't fuck up the heroin overdose. Because I'm not shooting myself.
Fair.
no, absolutely not. Yeah. Though I think that fits very well with the personalities that we've been given of um of the two his two crewmates. So
Hmm.
yeah.
What if the Russian crewmate woke up early and did take her heroin, hence the open, obviously there's the IV as a potential option, but she had an open syringe wound.
Hmm.
What if she woke up early, too early, and decided to kill herself?
She was like, "Fuck
Damn.
this. This is too much. I'm not doing this by myself." And
Yeah.
then just ended it. Yeah.
Or she just knew
Can't
she
say I
had
blame
to.
her.
Yeah.
What if, what? I could see Ryland also being like, you know, I just want to see it all in space. I'm going to keep going till the end,
Oh yeah, how he lives it
Maybe he
out.
would want to maybe he would want to fly his ship into the sun or something. I feel like,
At light speed.
Ooh.
yeah. I don't know.
I want to go that way. Just flying to the sun.
Yeah.
Sounds painful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you have to be going fast
like-
enough to make it quick,
For
I
like
guess.
2 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going fast enough.
So we've got nitrogen, we've got robot sexual asphyxiation, we've got flying into the sun. Any other ideas on how Ryland would choose to die?
I think pre this adventure different, but I think now having met Rocky, I think it's fucking show Rocky what some Earth heroin's like, and then fucking that little murder suey wooey. You know what I mean? You just fucking shoot them both.
Would heroin even affect Rocky? Like,
Damn. Oh yeah.
maybe it ends up
We
being
gonna
some
find
kind of
out.
maybe it ends up being a wonder drug. Like,
Maybe it like super repairs Rocky, and then I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't have the neurotransmitters for it, so it's just completely wasted on him. He's like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
Or
he,
just
like,
I mean-
didn't do
combusts
anything.
immediately as soon as it's in his area.
I mean, how would he even take? Well,
He's got those vents. You just squirt it right in.
Yep.
True.
I think
You
the
just
only
won't
other
open it.
logical ending is it's going to be post-coitus of the robot Rocky and Ryland.
Damn.
He's going to slip
Oh.
on some lube that was on the ground, and it's going to cause a Final Destination chain reaction and kill all three of them with the Yow's pistol.
Oh god.
What
That's
if he
it.
That could
wants
happen.
Rocky to eat him?
Oh god.
Oh.
Not
Yeah.
like the con-
I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but
I really hope he's not into war.
yeah.
He's just like, Rocky, can you eat for me again?
Oh god.
My
I know it's
God.
kind of crazy.
Now just
Rocky,
hear
could
me
you
out.
sit on my face?
No. It's like a sizzling sound. Oh my
Good.
god. That's enough. That's enough. No,
What's the safe word?
All right. Well, any other final thoughts on this reading or the book as a whole moving into this final week?
Nah, I'm just excited to see how it actually turns out.
Yeah, I'm scared.
I want to remind that I will not be here on the 12th.
Okay.
No.
So I have the question list, and it's because there's so many chapters. You are on the list. You could just send it to me, and I can read it on your behalf, if
Yeah.
that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a 6-hour drive, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. So for this last week, we have it's about 110 pages. We've got chapter 22 through chapter 30. And I'm going to, let's see, book chat. So in book chat, I'm submitting the list. So everybody's got a question pretty much because there are so many chapters. And Geraint will have 2 questions. I figured I'd give him the last one since it was his pick.
The extra homework. Oh.
But yes, so review the thing. So chapter 22 is Adrian. Chapter 23 is Marvelous. Chapter 24 is Andy. Chapter 25 is Valk. Chapter 26 is Amarillo. Chapter 27 is Kel. Chapter 28 is Marlon. Chapter 29 is Jesse. And chapter 30 is also Geraint. And then, yeah, that'll be our last meeting for this book. And then we will start, we'll have a week break. And then we'll start seven husbands of Evelyn Hugo or whatever that is. And the link is on the schedule page. So do order that or acquire it in some way.
And do pay attention to the title of the book, because there was like another similarly titled book, like The Seven Deaths of like Evelyn Hugo or something.
Oh.
So like
Yeah, we want
that
the
came out at
reverse
like the same
harem
time,
book.
so make sure you get the right one.
Yeah, the reverse. That'd be funny if it is the
Or
reverse
read
harem.
both. Why not?
True. Read one first, read the second, and then the one about the dying part, we read the second. That's fine. Okay. Well, we'll call it there. A GB.
GB.
Yep.
GB.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff.
Maybe.